Good day, collectors and viewers. Social Distance Warrior is back, and today we're going to look at one of Jabba's henchmen from Return of the Jedi, none other than Ree Yees. So Ree Yees made his debut back in Return of the Jedi in 1983. He was featured in the first half of the film when our famous rebels went to visit Jabba's palace to try and rescue Han Solo, and then we found out there's all these different creatures and aliens that are inhabiting this place with Jabba the Hutt here. They're all these they're gangsters, all sorts of creatures. It was fascinating as a kid to see all these different aliens. And what I loved about all the different Star Wars movies, the original trilogy ones, is that every single movie had some new set of aliens that looked slightly different, or you knew that it was something brand new. You knew that it wasn't something that was done before, but it always felt like it was part of the Star Wars universe. So, of course, we'd get Ree Yees in 1983. He'd be on the Return of the Jedi 65 back. We'll throw a picture up there. Now, this is an interesting one. The one I'm going to show you is my original figure that I got as a kid, and he's managed to stand the test of time 40 years later almost right now. I can remember going to pick him up. My parents were out on the road, and I believe we were furniture shopping. So we're on one of those streets that had a whole bunch of furniture stores competing with each other, and they were going from one to the other. And of course I was exhausted and tired, and there was no such thing as iPads or iPhones at the time, and you were kind of stuck tagging along with them because you couldn't stay home alone. And thankfully we did stop by a department store, and I managed to talk my parents into getting me a figure, and that was Ree Yees. So that's this guy over here. So here he is. Now I've lost the weapon over the years, but the figure, as you can see, is still intact. He's got most of his paint app still on there. He's a little bit weathered. You can see he's very well loved as an action figure. What I loved about this guy was the three eyes. So the name Ree Yees is just, of course, a derived name from Three Eyes, and I used to call him Three Eyes as a kid, and I was fascinated. He kind of looks a little bit like a pig as well as an alien, and there's obviously a really distinct look to them, and the weirder they were, the better they were as kids. I loved alien characters, and you can see, so he's got articulation there at the head. His arms, of course, move up and down. You can see mine does have a little bit of play there, but once you get to that spot, it holds tight, holds in place. He's got really big hands. He doesn't have the ability to hold anything on this side, but he does on this side there. You can see he's got a grip to hold his weapon. Articulation wise at the legs move up, and you can see underneath there he does have foot pegs to stand him on some of the play sets if you had them. So that's what he looks like from underneath. There's a nice look at Ree Yees from the front. You can take a nice close look at him. He's a slightly shorter character, but because of his big bulky size, he fits in really nicely with the other ones there. And you can see he's got the stripe down his pants like a lot of the characters did, and the boots. So that's what he looks like from the side, and then that's what he looks like from the back as well. So that would be our Ree Yees figure that made his debut in Return of the Jedi. And of course, I love this character, and I went on a whole bunch of adventures. Sometimes he was a good guy, and sometimes he was a bad guy, depending on what the situation was when I was playing with the toys. So that's the Ree Yees we got in 83, 65 back. And of course, we wouldn't get another Ree Yees. He's a background character, but we would get a revisit to him once Star Wars made its return in the 90s. As part of the Power of the Force 2. Now, what was interesting with some of these lines, especially once Star Wars made its return, is that whenever it was a production run of a particular wave of figures, in this case it was the freeze frame, whenever it got towards the end of it, the last few waves, the distributors or the people that were supposed to pick up these the distribution on these toys would order less, and as a result they'd become very scarce, or you wouldn't even see them in the stores. And he was one of the recipients of that. He actually had to order them online because he basically became an online exclusive because you couldn't find him in the stores because he wasn't picked up because he was towards the end of the year. So that would be in 1998 as Power of the Force 2, as part of the Power of the Force 2 collection on the freeze frame. We'd get a brand new Ree Yees, and I do have the card back here. I opened my figure, but I have the card back just to show you. We'll bring that here into camera. So you can see the Star Wars logo there with the freeze frame. And they had these stickers. I taped mine to the back of the card back here, but that was on the front of the blister. It said Ree Yees with blaster pistols. Pistols, not pistol. See that? And of course, the freeze frame is on there as well with the scene of him from the movie. We'll just look at that in a second on the back. So that's what the card back looks like. When we turn around to the back, they had all these little bios for the characters as well. And you can see there Ree Yees. Even with the court full of conspirators, Jabba the Hutt never suspected Ree Yees as a potential assassin. Ree Yees cut a deal with the Empire to destroy Jabba, but fate would save that role for Princess Leia. So you can see he's got his own backstory like almost every character in Star Wars does. And there's a famous character there too. That's not the camel from Marlboro. That is Yak Face. Okay, camel-looking alien. And then, of course, some other figures there on the back as well. That came in the waves. And then the special offer to mail away for this catalog or booklet to hold your freeze frames. And, of course, that's if you hold that up to the light, you can see the picture of Ree Yees there. And it's exactly that photo there in the freeze frame. So that's the card back for him. We have him loose, of course, to look at. We're going to look at him there. Just make sure that doesn't fall. That's this guy over here. Now, he's got completely redone from that original figure, and he does have 2 guns that he didn't actually sport in the movie, but of course, the added play value here on the character. And he's such a nice sculpt of the character. It's a really nice update. I'm going to take the guns out. We'll look at them just in a quick detail there. A lot of these guns were recycled from other characters as well, so some of them got the same gun, some of them didn't, but some of them are slightly unique. I believe this one is unique to the character. This one here, I think, is a common one that you've seen with Greedo and other characters as well before in the past. So that's his blaster pistol. And then, of course, Ree Yees himself. Here he is in all his glory from 1998. And if we bring it up close, you can see the nice paint job and how far we've come from that original sculpt with the head. He's even got the teeth in his mouth painted there. We've come a long way. And there's a little red outline around the eyes to bring out an accent to that facial feature a little bit more there. Wrinkles all over his head. It's hard to do justice here looking at it on camera, but on the skin here, there's different tones of color on the skin there as well to depict the character, and you can turn his head side to side. So that's what Ree Yees looks like the top wise there. And then, of course, articulation at the arms. They go up and down. And in this case now you have the ability to hold a blaster or something in both hands. They're both open, unlike that original one. And of course, just like a lot of the Power of the Force 2 figures, these guys do turn side to side as well. So he's got that swivel there at the waist. And of course, his legs move up and down. They can't move much because he does have that bottom part of his outfit there. That's like a skirt that stops it from going all the way up. So you'll have trouble sitting him down without warping that part of his outfit there. But he looks better standing up anyway in Jabba's palace. But you can see how really well done the sculpt and paint job is on this character here. The belt's painted there as well. The boots are painted a different color. So that's Ree Yees there from the front. And if we flip them up underneath, we can see there's his foot pegs there. And underneath there, it says Kenner, China. In 1990, it looks like 98. Yeah, it says 98 on there. So there's the year, tried and tested. Okay, and then from the side, that's what he looks like there. He's got that slight slant to his stand there. He's a bit of a hunchback here on the back. And he does have that stripe painted on his leg, just like the vintage one did on there. And that's what he looks like from the back as well. And you can see on the back here, they've painted this part a different color as well to give him a much more realistic look and feel. And I really love his outfit. It's got like a shiny tang to it. Maybe a little bit too shiny for the character, but still a very nice figure for the time and year that it came out in 98. So that's Ree Yees from the Power of the Force 2 collection in the freeze frame. So we wouldn't see another Ree Yees again for a number of years, but we would get that same figure re-released in 2010 as part of a Disney Parks exclusive called The Boarding Party. It was a Star Tours set that came with a few different figures. There was a Ree Yees figure. There was a repaint of like a Rebel technician or troop in Star Tours colors. There was an Ewok in there as well. There was the creature from the Ewok TV special, Teak. It's a character I don't have that I really wish I did have. He came exclusive in that set. I just missed out on it. And of course, there was a Ree Yees as well. And Ree Yees is exactly the same figure as that Power of the Force 2 figure there, except that he came with one accessory. And I happen to have the accessory, and that is the camera. So you can see the camera's got, the 3 lenses here for his 3 eyes to look through. And he's got a strap where you can just put that around his neck to look at. And that's what that feature looks like on the back there as well, the camera. I just wanted to throw that in there. I got this out of another collection. I don't actually have that Star Tours set, but I managed to get that accessory, and I thought it would be nice to see in the review as well. So you can see it's a unique look to it, and maybe not 100% accurate to what you'd see in the movie, but if you've been on the Star Tours ride, then you see Ree Yees on the ride there, and just as they're talking about, well, this is at the beginning of the ride when they're telling you what not to do before the ride, and one of them was flash photography, and Ree Yees actually takes a picture. So that was like one of the running jokes with the character coming with us. So that was a neat little addition that was exclusive to that version of Ree Yees from the Disney parks. So we wouldn't get another Ree Yees again for a number of years. We were always hoping to get the figure redone again. I think Hasbro always wanted to take another stab at it because they thought they could do better with some of the characters. And he's a beloved character. He is one of those guys that you instantly know Return of the Jedi when you see him. So when Disney took over and we had the rest of the Black Series Vintage Collection stopped, and we got 3 3/4 inch Black Series along with the 6-inch Black Series when they first started, we did get a brand new Ree Yees, and I have the card back for him over here as well. And the card backs were, left a lot to be desired. There's the front of the card back. A lot of these card backs, the bubble just tore off. Well, you had the figure there, but that's basically what it looks like. And he's got the little, picture of him on the front there. And it was really hard to see some of these characters on because they had the black background, very dark background. You couldn't see what the character looked like on there. So it was nice that this line didn't last very long. On the back here, we can see that he's number 28, and it says one of the low-life criminals in Jabba the Hutt's palace on Tatooine. Ree Yees is part of the excited crowd that eagerly watches Luke fight for his life in the Rancor pit. And there's a nice little sketch of him there in the movie where he put his hand over C-3PO's mouth to stop him from talking. So that's the card back with the 3 3/4 inch Black Series Ree Yees, and I have that character here as well. That's him. So we get a brand new, super articulated version of the character, and he's awesome. Like, it's too bad that he never actually came out on a Vintage Collection card at the time, but because they ended that line, we managed to get him on the Black Series line. So we'll look at him articulation-wise. Now, he didn't come with this drink. I have him holding that drink because I have him sitting in Jabba's palace in my diorama. But the Ree Yees, you can see, is a brand new sculpt, and he's an amazing ultimate version of Ree Yees there. So let's just take that drink out of his hand so we can look at him in detail. So one thing we noticed right away on the character is that he's a lot more to scale right now. He doesn't have a giant head. He kind of fits in nicely with the rest of your characters, and he's proportioned properly with full articulation. We'll bring up his head close there so we can take a nice look at it. He doesn't have any extra outlines around the eyes like that original one did, but this is a little bit more movie accurate anyway. That one was a little more accented to play feature on the Power of the Force 2 one than this guy is. So this one's movie accurate. He does have shading and stuff on his skin there to give it slightly different tones. His head is on a ball, so you can move it up a little bit there. You can move it down. You can turn him side to side, so you have full articulation there on Ree Yees. As far as the arms there on the shoulders, he does have shoulder pads, so you can't really pull his arm all the way up, but you can turn it this way and you can bring it out pretty far. You can bring it out there. You can see, so it's on a ball there. And then same thing at the elbow. You can bring that in there at the elbow. And then, of course, over here at the wrist, you can just turn his wrist back and forth, but you can see the nice sculpting on his hands there that he can hold either a drink or a blaster. He's got his hand on the trigger finger there as well. So that's what he looks like from the front. Now, if we look at him here from the body at the torso, you can turn him side to side, and he does have some play up and down there as well. So some added articulation here at the waist, which is amazing for these 3 3/4 inch figures. Now, as far as the legs, they just move straight up there. And again, he does have a soft bottom part to his tunic there, where you could sit him down if you had to, which is nice. But his legs only move up, and then you can bend him at the knee. So you do have articulation there at the knee, and of course you can turn them side to side to have them sitting. And then of course down here at the bottom, you don't have any ankle articulation. They didn't add that on the boot, but you can turn his boots here to the side at the ankle. At the knees. So that's the articulation you get on Ree Yees there from the front. Let's just have a look at him. So you can take a nice close look at him there. You can see the nice paint job, the nice proportions. He's an ultimate version of this character. He looks amazing. And then underneath, of course, we got the foot pegs. Okay. And then that's what he looks like from the side. Just turn him sideways there. It's a little bit strange. They did add numbers on here as well. When they did the production run, they put it right on his boot instead of putting it underneath or on the back of the pant leg. It's right on the side of the boot there, which is a little bit of an eyesore. But you don't really notice it if you have him standing in Jabba's palace, so you're okay. So he does have that stripe running down his leg there. Okay, and then if you turn him around to the back, that's what he looks like from the back. Okay, we can see the detailing in the paint, and you can see these sculpted crevices or lines coming down the back of his jacket. So they've maintained that and gave him an ultimate version look. So that was in 2014. That's the Ree Yees we'd get, and we don't probably need a better one than that. What we would need is to have him on a vintage collection card. So they'd revisit the vintage collection in 2018. Vintage collection 2 would come out, and then our prayers would be answered in 2019 with Ree Yees joining Han Solo and Carbonite on card and being part of a set that was Jabba's Palace playset. And to our wonder, we got 2 figures coming with that playset, and I was super horrified living up here in Canada that I'd never see it, like a lot of stuff, because the distribution is just not very good with the Star Wars stuff up here. And I remember one day walking into a Toys R Us up here, and they actually had them in box on shelf, and I grabbed it as fast as I could. Now, there was more than one there, but I didn't have the heart to take more than one because I wanted to leave it for another collector, because I think people would get as excited as I would opening him up and getting a chance to have Ree Yees. Now, it's exactly the same figure with a slight different paint job. I have him on card here, so it's amazing to see him on the vintage collection card. You can see with the nice green background, he pops out really well. And there he is with his 2 guns, blasters that he comes with. And it's exactly the same figure we just looked at, just a slightly different paint job on. There's a little more of a flesh tone to his outfit, especially on his hands and on his head and on his neck there. So that's what he looks like from the front. It's got the nice little Kenner, logo here at the bottom, Return of the Jedi there at the top. Now, one thing that they were messing up with when they started this lineup again is the name pill here. They couldn't get the font right when they first had them, and Ree Yees and some of the figures have a very, very small name pill on there. So a small little, annoyance with the figure, but nonetheless, it's a great figure, and it's awesome to have him on card, and he looks really good if you like to keep your carded collection and have him as part of your original 96 figures. That's the guy. So let's turn around from the back, and we can see that he's VC number 137 there on the back, and then here's some other figures that were available. There's the Han Solo and Carbonite that also came with the set on card. And then we have some figures here from other Star Wars movies, like the Elite Praetorian Guard from The Last Jedi, and then Lando from the Han Solo movie. And then Chewbacca, we finally got a New Hope Chewbacca on there, and then an Imperial Stormtrooper that was from Rogue One, the Rogue One appearance. So those are some other figures that were on the back, and then a lot of legal mumbo jumbo here taking up the rest of it. So that's Ree Yees on card. And that's all the Ree Yees that we would get. We have the ultimate version, of course, here with the Vintage Collection 1. So if you manage to pick this up, I'm pretty sure you probably still can get this for a pretty decent price, because they're still basically readily available, these Jabba's Palace playsets. And even getting the figure out of the playset, he's not as a high demand figure as some of the other ones are, so you should be able to snag him if you don't have him. If you're an opener, then you don't probably need this guy. You can just grab like a loose or a carded version of the Black Series one. It might even be cheaper for you. But that's Ree Yees. And that's all the versions that we've got from 1983 to today. And I hope that you've enjoyed the review. And I look forward to seeing you on the next one and making more. So please like and subscribe. And see you again. Take care.